What's going on, everybody? Hockey Time here, back again with another edition of the NHL Power Rankings. This one for December 2nd, I guess now. Hope everybody enjoyed their American Thanksgivings. As I said, I'm back in my usual setup here, back at my apartment in Jersey. So we have the usual Power Ranking setup, no more of the iPhone recording situation. So let's jump right into it. I'm trying to do this in one take just because I just got back from the rink. I get to go to sleep and go right back there. So at number 32, it's not the Sharks anymore. Dropping one spot is the Chicago Blackhawks. The Hawks just continue to not really get the results they're looking for. For those of you that watched that game against Detroit, I believe it was, there's clearly some pent up frustration there from Bedard, understandably so, with everything that's been going on with him lately. Of course, they had the whole Corey Perry situation going on too. So just in general, not a good week for this Blackhawks team. And for now, at least they do drop to number 32, meaning that for second time this year, San Jose is up to number 31. This team has actually been getting some decent results. I think they're 4-6 or 5-5 in their last 10 games. They're 2-1 this week, so good to see some winning results from them. Largely, even in their wins, they're getting caved in on the shot total, so that's not great to see. But their goalies have been keeping it together for them, and tonight's a great example of that. They beat the Devils despite getting outshot like 40 some to 18. And Capo Kakinen just ended up being the better of the two goalies. So you got to win somehow. That's how it's going to be for the Sharks. So this week they move up one spot. Number 30, dropping 7 spots. It's been a rough couple weeks for them as the Anaheim Ducks. They are far removed from the team that had gone on that 6-game win streak a few weeks back. The goaltending has really softened. Still missing Trevor Zegras. The goal scoring in general has kind of dried out. Frank Vetrano is not as hot as he's been in weeks previously. So just all in all, not a lot going too great for the Ducks. We'll see if they can kind of start to rebound here, but this is really where I think a lot of us expected them to be, so not really all that surprised to see them down in number 30. 29 moving up a spot, and I almost had them up 2 spots this week, but it's the Columbus Blue Jackets. A good result tonight, beating the Senators by a score of 4-2. Kind of similar to San Jose, not really playing all that well in game, but they're getting the results despite getting outplayed pretty severely. Spencer Martin and Elvis Merzlikins have both looked pretty good the last really 2 weeks, but this week especially. Tonight, another really good example of that. Elvis stopped 40 plus shots, I think, for the second game in a row. So he's been much, much better than he was to start the year. And that was one of their biggest, if not their biggest issue that was stopping them from winning games. So if he can continue to play well, they might climb this list a little bit further. We will see. But for now, I do have them at number 29. 28, also moving up a spot, is Minnesota. Debated having this team move up a few more spots too, but feel like it might be just a bit premature for them. Of course, John Hines comes in and you kind of have that fresh coach bump, and that's exactly what we've seen to this point. I think they're 2-0 under Hines, so we'll see if they can continue to roll with that momentum, similar to the way the Oilers have. But for now, just don't want to move them up too much off of the back of just a few results. So we will see what they are capable of there. Number 27, dropping one spot, is Seattle. This team's really falling into the conundrum of just not getting goal scoring and not getting saves. Um, in general, neither Grubauer or Decord have been good enough to really claim that starting job for a little bit there. It looked like Decord might be able to, as Grubauer's numbers were falling off. That's kind of faded away. So this team really just has a handful of issues that they need to solve at least one of in order to start winning games. And right now, it's just not happening for them. So a close game against Toronto the other night, but just not able to get it done. And you need more than 1 point every night if you're going to try to make the playoffs. And right now, this team is far, far away from even making it there. So we'll see if they can pick it back up. But for now, I do have Seattle in this bottom row at number 27. Number 26, dropping 7 spots, are the Buffalo Sabres. This team continues to struggle with goaltending as well, obviously missing Tage Thompson, which is a huge loss for them. They miss out on the Patty Kane sweepstakes. He was, by my stakes, at least expected to go there. I would have thought for sure the hometown kid was going to go back to the hometown team, but no dice for the Sabres. Not that it would have solved a ton of their problems, but it would have been a big hole to fill in the absence of Tage Thompson. They don't get that, and it kind of just puts some dirt in the wound for them. So we'll see if they can start to get some more saves. Luukkonen's been all right, but he had a rough game later this week. Blanking on who they played Thursday, but it was not a pretty result there. They just need some consistency again. I think he's the starting guy moving forward, at least for the time being, with Devin Levi, I believe, being sent down to the AHL. So they need some more goals. They need some more saves, very similar to Seattle right now. I have them at number 26. 25, moving down, a whole bunch of spots, 10 spots, are the Ottawa Senators. This team, I've been holding them kind of in the middle of the pack for a really, really long time, expecting them to start getting the results. The play hasn't been bad for them, but I just can't do it anymore. I feel like I'm doing these other teams wrong by keeping them so much higher in the list. So last week they were 15th. This week they are 25th, a 10 spot drop. The goaltending's not there. The goal scoring's not there enough. I mean, to only score 2 goals against the Columbus team, despite outshooting them very heavily, is just not good enough, man. I mean, this team had playoff expectations, and right now it is simply not happening. So something's got to change there. I don't know if it's a coaching issue. I don't know if it's a personnel issue, but something's got to get shaken up in Ottawa because this team needs to fix something ASAP if they want even a hope or a prayer at making the playoffs. Uh, Number 24, jumping up 4 spots, are the New York Islanders. This team, kind of the beneficiary of some of these teams falling here. Their goaltending's rebounded a bit. Sorokin's been better. Varlamov continues to be pretty good, but just making their games more interesting than they need to. Frankly, that game against Carolina, they probably should have won in regulation, not giving away that other point. But it is what it is. The results are the results, and right now they're getting it from their goaltenders, which is their most important piece and identity. So good to see that from them. We'll see if they can continue it moving forward. I know Lambert was kind of rumored to be on the hot seat for a little bit there. I don't think he's completely removed from that yet, but only time will tell whether or not he's able to keep this team moving in the right direction and keep his job. So for now, they're 24. Number 23, dropping 5 spots, are the Montreal Canadiens. The goaltending has kind of fallen off here continuously over the last, I want to say, 3-4 weeks. Scoring's dried up. They're no longer just forcing games to overtime and winning them there. So again, kind of similar to the Ducks. I don't think we expected them to be nearly as bad as the Ducks, but we definitely didn't expect them to be higher up on this list like they were in weeks prior. So not really too much to comment on for the Canadians right now. They're really settling into where I think they kind of belong. We'll see if they prove me wrong otherwise, whether that is by dropping or by regaining and climbing back up the list. But for now, I have them at 23. Number 22, also dropping 5 spots, is Philly. This team is still very hard to play against. I like this team a lot more than I like the Canadians. Just really hard nosed. The goaltending from Hart, especially, is a lot better, in my opinion. I think Montembeau is becoming more of a comparable there, but for now, Hart's definitely the better of the two between the Habs and the Flyers. The scoring's there a little bit more between Konechny, Tippett. This Forster kid's been great for the Flyers too. So they have some good pieces going, but the results just not really there in the way I'd like to see them. So they drop. Would have been, I think, a spot or two higher if it weren't for some of the teams ahead of them here. All right, number 21, jumping a good handful of spots, 6 spots, is the Edmonton Oilers. By the way, apologies if it seems like I'm suddenly starting to rush through these. I just got all the way to number 5 before realizing that my computer no longer had enough space for the previous recording. So just killed about 20 minutes of my life that I'll never get back, but it's all good. Number 21 is the Oilers. They have really picked up the offense. McDavid looked like he has come alive in the last 4 or 5 games. He's got like 15 or so points in 4 games. He's just back to McDavid-like things. Stuart Skinner's been a lot better. Those were really 2 of the biggest issues for this team. As long as those 2 issues are no longer there, they're probably going to be fine and climb up the standings pretty quickly. So it's terrifying for the rest of the league, who now has to deal with a red-hot Connor McDavid. But for the Oilers and Oilers fans, it's great news because this is kind of what you expected to see from them. Number 20, jumping 2 spots, the other Alberta team, the Calgary Flames. This team, similar path to the Oilers, really. They both had rough starts to the season. They've slowly continued to improve throughout the season to this point, at least, continuing to not have consistent winning results, but consistent enough to climb them up this list. A big win this week, specifically against Dallas, who they really outplayed pretty handily. The game would have been a lot closer had Markstrom, or would have been a lot less close had Markstrom made another save or so. I think they got outshot Dallas, like 20 or 25 shots. So good performances from the Flames. We'll see if they can keep it up moving forward, but I do have them bumping up 2 spots this week. And number 19, jumping 6 spots, again, largely due to their goaltending, is the Arizona Coyotes. Connor Ingram is really pushing for a Vezina at this point. Never mind just the starting role. Vejmelka's been all right. I know he was the guy last year, but their record with Ingram in net versus without him in net is pretty astounding. He's really carrying them to a lot of their wins, especially the ones where they're facing 35, 40-plus shots. He's really held them down. In pretty much every game he's played, I think he's only had 3 games below a 920 or something of the games he started, and 2 of them were against the red-hot LA Kings. So really, really good stuff from Ingram. We'll see if he can keep it up, but for now he has pretty much single-handedly dragged this team up from the bottom row to number 19. Number 18, jumping 2 spots. They would have jumped a lot more if they didn't lose to the Sharks tonight, but that's exactly what happened. The New Jersey Devils, they had an all right week. The goaltending is still an issue for them. Tonight is example number 1, 2, and 3 of that. They outshoot the Sharks by like almost 30, and they lose 6-3. Akira Schmid stops like 11 of 16 or 12 of 17, something really not good enough. And frankly, Vitek's kind of done a lot of the same. So I'm not sure what is out there for goaltenders. I know John Gibson's been rumored. UC Saros has been, I don't know if you want to call it rumors because I don't think the Preds are going to give him up, but something's got to change there for Jersey. Just the goaltending's not cutting it to this point. Number 17, jumping 7 spots, speaking of UC Saros, is the Nashville Predators. And really, UC's been better, but Kevin Lankinen has been the better of the two goalies for this team. Saros, again, the last 3 or 4 games he's played has looked better than he has in his previous body of work throughout the year, but still just not at the level we expect from him. This is a kid that, after taking over for Pecorine, has been in the Vezina conversation pretty much every year, and right now he's very far from that. But the team has kind of picked up for it, which is good to see because that has not always been the case for the Preds in the past. But right now, they're just playing pretty solid hockey overall. We'll see if they can keep it up again. As I've mentioned in previous power rankings, I don't have a ton of faith in this roster, but for now, they're playing well as a unit, and the goaltending's been just good enough to get them some W's, so they jump 7 spots to number 17. Number 16, jumping 5 spots, is St. Louis. Very similar story here. Not a huge fan of this roster, but the scoring has really jumped up for them. I think I like their like high skill forward pieces a bit more than I like Nashville's, and both Binnington and Joel Hofer, excuse me, have been really fantastic. Arguably the third or fourth best tandem in the league behind Vegas, Boston, and Vancouver, maybe. So really good stuff from the two of them. We'll see if they can continue their results. Again, this Central Division is pretty wide open and there for the taking, especially if both Winnipeg and Minnesota, the two teams that were expected to kind of fight for that third spot, are not just going to take it and run with it. So the Blues are there. I think the Preds could be there if they really want to be, but for now, those two teams are especially making it pretty interesting. We'll see if the Blues can keep that up moving forward. Number 15, dropping 4 spots, are the Tampa Bay Lightning. I'm not overly concerned about a drop like this for the Bolts. I think they're relaxing a little bit now, knowing that they have maybe the third best goalie in the world back on their sheet. Um, Not the best week for him individually. I don't think he played poorly, but again, not the numbers from Vasi we expect to see. But he's coming off back surgery, so I can't say I'm all that surprised. He's got to get used to NHL speed. Got to make sure the body feels right. I know that's not something that you can just jump right back into, especially some of the stuff that he does. But not overly worried about this team. I think just an off week happens to really every team at some point during the year. And right now, the Bolts are just in that. If it continues another week or two, then we might have a bigger conversation. But for now, not overly worried about the Bolts. Number 14, staying put from where they were last week, is Detroit. The biggest news for this team really is the addition of Patrick Kane. He'll get to play with Alex DeBrincat again. As far as the results for this team this week, kind of ho-hum back and forth, not really too much to talk about. A good win against the Blackhawks. They struggle against the Rangers. Kind of to be expected. The Rangers are one of, if not the best team in the league right now, and the Blackhawks are, as you see, in my opinion, the worst team in the league right now. So we'll see if Detroit can keep it up moving forward. I think they're in a playoff spot as it stands right now in the Atlantic. We'll see if adding Patty Kane helps that, where he slots in. I think his first game is going to be Tuesday against Buffalo, if I remember correctly. But yeah, we'll see how much he helps their offense and what impact it has on their defensive numbers, because I really think that's their bigger issue. But time will tell. Number 13, dropping 3 spots, is the Carolina Hurricanes. This team, much like their counterpart in the Metro in New Jersey, just needs some more saves, and right now they're not getting it. Anderson, of course, still out with his health issues. Excuse me. Antti Ranta had a terrible game against Tampa Bay last week, and then continued to be really bad this week. Pyotr Kochetkov kind of in the same boat there, so I don't know again what's out there for goalies for them. I don't know if they're really looking to make a move or just trying to hope one of these two guys improves. But for now, it's been a tough ride for the Hurricanes. If their goaltending continues to struggle, I think they'll probably continue to slide down this list because the scoring has not been there in the way it was to start the year. But for now, I do have them 13. They're still kind of winning a game, losing a game, so I can't really drop them too much, but they are definitely starting to slide. Number 12, jumping 4 spots, is the Washington Capitals. This team has me on like a roller coaster of emotions. They lose their first game in the California road trip to San Jose, and I'm thinking this trip is a wash. We're going to go 0-3. It's going to be a mess. They go into Los Angeles. get their teeth kicked in all game long, and Charlie Lindgren saves the day, and they win 2-1. And then a pretty similarly messy game against Anaheim, not nearly as bad, of course, as that game against LA, but they go in and get the result there too. So just a weird team right now, to be honest. Ovechkin, I don't know if he's playing hurt, if he's just struggling to find his spot on the ice without Backstrom. The power play, of course, is not helping at all, but the results are still coming in for the Caps. So largely thanks to Charlie Lindgren, of course, but as long as they continue to get the results, they're going to keep climbing. I don't know how long I expect it to happen, but I think I've said that 2 or 3 weeks in a row now. We'll see if eventually I am wrong, but I hope I'm not. Number 11, moving up 2 spots, is Toronto. Good results this week for them. They win a couple of games in the shootout. Of course, that really weird one on the double tap from Evan Rodriguez against Florida. And then, of course, their win against Seattle. Joseph Wool, I think, is slowly but surely taking over that starting role. The numbers are to the point now where it's a big enough sample size that I don't think they're going to start lying to you with the numbers. Samsonov has struggled and continued to struggle well beyond just the initial, like, all right, is there a goaltending controversy or not? And Wool's been fantastic. He's faced 30 plus shots in a handful of games and just looks calm, composed, makes the big saves when he needs to. So good to see for the Leafs, because for a little bit there it was getting kind of concerning when Sammy wasn't playing well, and then Wool had 1 or 2 games where he didn't play all that great either, but seems to have settled in. We'll see if he can keep it up moving forward. For now, the Leafs are at 11. If they keep scoring and Joseph Wool keeps making saves, they're probably going to climb too. Number 10, dropping 2 spots, is Winnipeg. I think they're on a 3-game slide now. We'll see if this is a long-term thing or if it's just a little skid, kind of similar to the Lightning. A bit unfortunate that this happens like right after Rick Bowness returns from his missing time from the team, but again, these weeks are going to happen. Connor Hellebuck didn't have the worst week. Laurent Brossoit, though, seems to be not unplayable, but they just can't seem to find wins when he's in net. So I don't know if they really need to make a change there, but you got to save Connor Hellebuck's legs for the playoffs, but you also have to get to the playoffs. So a bit of a conundrum there for Rick Bowness. And then, of course, he, I think, might be winless or have only won 1 game since his return. So, again, a bit unfortunate for the Jets, not overly concerned. Another team that I think had just kind of a bad week. But again, if it stretches into a 2 or 3 week thing, we will have a bigger conversation about it at that point. For now, they dropped just 2 spots to number 10. Number 9, moving up 3 spots. They had a really good week. It was the Penguins. Of course, the exciting Tristan Jarry goalie goal last night. Crosby's just been on an absolute tear. The power play still struggling for them, but if they can get that going, this team's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Um, I don't really have too much to comment on. I think the biggest thing for them is that the goaltending's been a lot better than expected, and of course now they're scoring goals too. So why not move them up blah, blah. Wow, move them up a couple spots. There we go, Cody. Good job. Yeah, just impressed with this Pens team as of late. We'll see if they can keep it up as long as Jari stays healthy. Again, fingers crossed for you Penguins fans. This team looks to be in pretty good shape. Number 8, dropping 2 spots, is Vancouver. This team just didn't really get the results this week that you'd hope. They also lost to San Jose last Saturday, and then, of course, just kind of struggled throughout the week. They do make the trade, sending Beauvillier out to Chicago and then bring in Nikita Zadorov, so we'll see what impact that has on the team. Um, I'm not a huge fan of Zadorov personally, but I think he's a good fit for Vancouver. I think he's a great Rick Tocchet player in general, so we'll see what Talk does with him. But for now, the Canucks are 8. Still trying to figure out whether this team's frauds or not. They had, of course, a very good start to the year, have struggled a bit as of late, but Demko's still been really good. DeSmith's been really good. Their big guys are still performing. The depth has kind of just stepped back a bit, so we'll see if the depth can step back up and help out their big guns, but for now, not too big of a drop for Vancouver, who sits at 8. Number 7, with a relatively large drop of 5 spots, is the Boston Bruins. This team has struggled to find the net and just defend their own net as they did relative to the start of the year. Swayman had a rough game in there where he gave up 2 goals, didn't really deserve to get pulled, but got pulled. Allmark comes in and gives up 2 goals of his own. I don't know if it was a confidence thing for Jim Montgomery, if it was supposed to be a wake-up call. Kind of just a weird scenario there, but all in all, just not the best week for the Bees, who struggle really across the board. Allmark's numbers have pretty significantly dropped off. Swayman, I think, is at the point where he's probably the guy for them, at least at the present time. We'll see if that stays a thing for a handful of weeks, a couple months, the rest of the year. Who really knows? But For now, the Bruins, again, one of those teams that just had a bit of a rough week. Not overly worried about them, but it is worth noting that this is a team that a lot of people expected to not be at the top of the Atlantic Division going into the year, and we have seen them kind of look to drop from that spot. I think as of now, they are still first in the Atlantic, but Florida's knocking on the door. Toronto, I think, is going to be there in a pretty quick time, so we'll see if the Bees can get back on the right side of the win column, but this week they dropped 5 spots to number 7. Number 6, jumping a spot, largely due to Boston falling so drastically, is Dallas. This team continues to get good goaltending from Ottinger, who played great in their loss against Calgary this week. Um, just again, not really a lot to talk about with this team. They've been consistent pretty much all around. There was a good bit of movement in the top row this week, so someone's got to move, someone's got to fall. Dallas jumps a spot because Boston drops. We'll see if they continue performing next week. I think they're capable of catching some of the teams ahead of them, but the teams in the top 5 are all pretty damn good right now. But I wouldn't say Dallas is too far back, especially with a guy like Jake Onger, who has had Vezina-like numbers to play, you know, behind a team that already has a lot of scoring and pretty solid defense. So, um, yeah, not really too much to say about the Stars. They sit at 6. We'll see if they can climb any more, but I'm pretty happy with them at the 6th slot. Number 5, number 5, dropping a spot are the Vegas Golden Knights. This team, again, sliding a little bit from their start to the year. They had really, really high expectations after that 10-game win streak. I think fans thought that they were going to be this juggernaut of a team. But you got to remember, they just played a very long season, of course, winning the Stanley Cup. You come back, they have a little bit of injury issues between Shea Theodore, Alex Pietrangelo, etc. So the goaltending still pretty good for them. The scoring has tapered off just a little bit this week. And then, of course, missing Shea Theodore is a pretty big piece. He was, of course, quarterbacking power play 1. Now I believe Alex Pietrangelo is doing that, which, what a terrible downgrade that is, right? Nonetheless, still not really worried about this team. They are still very, very strong on all areas of the ice. Just happens that another team jumped them this week. Number 4, the team that jumped them, moving up 5 spots, is Colorado. This team seems to be ebbing and flowing. Right now, they are flowing very strong. The offense is just clicking on all cylinders. They do lose to Arizona late this week, but all in all, the team's been playing pretty well. Again, I really, really think they need to give Georgiev a bit more rest. He's played the most games of any goalie in the NHL to this point, and again, this team should make the playoffs, and when they get there, they're going to want him to have at least some legs under him. I know this is one of those teams that can probably get pretty far without needing fantastic goaltending, but in the playoffs, pretty much every cup winner has proved that at one point or another you're going to need pretty good goaltending, and you want your goalie to not have played like 70 games in the regular season to get there. So give Georgiev some rest for the love of God, and otherwise this team's probably going to be just fine. Number 3, staying put from last week. I thought they jumped a spot, but I was wrong. It's the LA Kings. They did not move because of their loss to the Caps. This team, despite that loss, continues to play very well. They deserve to win against the Caps. Cam Talbot continues to be fantastic. He's probably a top 3 favorite for the Vezina Trophy. Same thing I've been saying for the last 3 or 4 weeks about this team, so I'm not even going to bother. They've been very good. They remain at 3. We'll see if they can catch the team that jumps 3 spots to number 2, and that is Florida. Florida has been unbelievable lately. They, again, seem like the team that made it to the Cup final last year, except they're healthy. They have their full core of defense back. Bobrovsky's been great. Anthony Stolarz looks like a steal of an ad in the offseason. Not having to play a ton of games, but the games he's played have all been very good. Unfortunately, that he had to take the loss against Toronto in the shootout there, but really everything going well for this team. No concerns about them. I expect them to pass Boston in pretty short order here. Yeah, this team's just playing really, really well. If it weren't for the team at number 1 just being a complete juggernaut, I think this team would be a very, very good shot for number 1. But of course, that number 1 team who's been there for a handful of weeks now is the New York Rangers. The Rangers just continue to be strong in every area. It looks like they're going to be getting Adam Fox back. Shesterkin's been great since coming back from his little missed time with his illness and injury. Jonathan Quick has been a very, very suitable backup. He's got Vezina-like numbers, of course, as a backup goalie. That's not a conversation we're going to have, but everything clicking for the Rangers. They remain at number 1. Something seemingly pretty drastic is going to have to happen for them to drop from that because they're just clicking on all cylinders right now. That's going to do it for this week's power rankings. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section down below. Do you think the Rangers fall out of this number 1 spot anytime soon? Does San Jose maintain their spot above number 32? Who's too high, who's too low, all that good stuff. Appreciate everyone, as always, for watching. For those of you that didn't watch the recap, really appreciate the first 50 of you that have subbed to the channel, looking to continue this momentum and just make as much content for you guys as I can. So thanks as always for watching. Leave a like if you enjoy the rankings. Subscribe as well if you don't mind. It is free, and we will see you guys next week for more power rankings, and of course in the week for all the recaps. We'll talk to you guys soon.